Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and we've got a special guest today. His name's John Stewart Hill. And John has quite a story to share with us about a difficult time of his life and making something really amazing out of it. And I don't know that I need to go any deeper than that in an intro with you, John. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. I love to talk to all different types of guests with all different types of stories. And, our guests are always interested in hearing about stories of overcoming, stories of transformation, stories of accomplishing, stories of discovery, and all of these things. And I think you've got a little bit of all of that to share with us today.
This is a little bit.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to where you're at?
Well, I like to start my story in 2011. In February of 2011, I kind of reached a very low point in my life
Hmm.
where I had been praying for a couple of months that God would just take me off the planet. I
Right.
just was I was done. I was looking back at my past. I had three failed marriages. Um, was in the Navy for a little while, got out and did odd sales jobs, just different odd jobs. So never had a career, never had any kind of education or anything that I could be proud of,
Wow.
and kind of reached that point where I had given up on life, and I just started praying, God, my language was, God, I just want you to kill me. I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
I was ready to go. I wasn't sure if I was a Christian. I wasn't sure if where I was in my life. I just was lost and tired and just didn't want to keep on going. And so in February, it was there was a big freeze that hit Dallas Fort Worth. It was around the time of the Super Bowl. They almost shut down the Super Bowl that year because ice had hit Dallas in such a big degree that I that but that during that ice storm, I had an incident where I was outside smoking a cigarette at my girlfriend's house. I was living with her because I really didn't have I lost my home and everything else. So
Wow.
and I was just I was living with friends, and then I met her, and we moved in together. And so, like I said, I was kind of at the bottom, and I was outside smoking a cigarette and started coughing, and then I started coughing up fluid, and then next thing you know, it was blood mixed in with it, and I was like,
Whoa.
"What's going on here?" And ended up going to the hospital. They saw that my lungs were full of fluid, so they thought it was pneumonia, and they admitted me. But it wasn't until later that night that they had done some more tests and said, "Mr. Hill, this is not pneumonia; it's your heart."
Whoa.
Yeah, and so like I said, I'd been praying that God would remove me from this planet, and so I didn't know what to think about it. And they were trying to get me to have my family come back up there at like 2 in the morning during a freeze, and I was like, I just don't understand why you'd want them to come up here for you to run more tests. And they wouldn't tell me you're that close to death. They just said, no, I'd prefer if your family could come back up here, please. And so I
Wow.
called them and was listening to a conversation because this was at 2 a.m. in the morning, 2 or 3
Mhm.
o'clock in the morning. And I could kind of hear a conversation going on out in the hall, and the nurse was saying to the doctor, "Don't you have to get permission from the director to move him to ICU?" And she said, "Not in this case. He's tombstone."
Wow.
And it was really quiet at night in the hospital. You can hear everything. And so when I heard that, I was like, "Oh wow, man, I guess I'm dying." And I was just sitting here thinking, man, right now I have this opportunity to just kind of ask for forgiveness for everything I've done up to this point, and have a clean sheet going into the going into heaven, and kind of like that last minute thief on the cross kind of deal, where it's just like, I've messed up a whole lot, but I do believe in you, and I want, you know, um, so it was
Amazing how at the very end of things, I haven't had a break in my faith that way, but I know a lot of people. I've come to the edge of death, and you're like Wow, everything changes for a second, and your whole priorities and all the things you thought were important or not, all of a sudden you're like, wow, you got this one thing to look at, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it turns out it's all right.
Well, I love God. I mean, my whole life I did. I loved him as a child, on up, but I was my understanding was that you had to live a righteous life. You couldn't just, you know, uh,
I think he'd
if,
like that.
well, I was raised in a Pentecostal church, so
Okay.
they're a lot more strict than some of the, like once you're saved, you're always saved kind of ideas. In
Yeah.
in that denomination, it's you could lose your salvation, you could backslide if you if you've crossed that line, you're not going. And it was like there's this book up here. In my mind, I had there's this book, God's keeping record of stuff, and if you have a mark on that book, when you get there, you're not going in.
Wow.
And so it was kind of, I live my life based on performance a lot. And my performance so far in life, 3 divorces, um, no career. I was failing.
Right.
In my opinion, I was absolutely failing in life. Every time I've ever had anything good happen, something bad would happen and take it away.
Wow.
If I was a disappointment to everybody. And so here at this point in my life, I was just like ready to go. And while I was being rolled into ICU from, hearing that, um, I felt like God spoke to me. It was really, really clear in my spirit. And God said, "Well, John, do you want to stay or do you want to go?" And I realized that whatever answer I gave him, he was gonna do. He was gonna agree
Wow.
with.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was very heavy. But and like I said, I've been praying that God would kill me. I'm like, here's
Right.
the perfect opportunity. I really,
Yeah.
it wasn't hurting. I wasn't really, it wasn't bad. I was thinking, what's going to happen if I've already had a heart attack? I didn't even, I felt a little winded, but other than that,
Yeah.
you know, um, I'm just going to probably fade away. I'll
Right.
probably just go to sleep and not even know what happened. And I'll just
Right.
wake up in heaven, because
Right.
I'm,
Easy way out.
yeah. So, I mean, that was the easy way out, but I felt like God was saying, I, I will be with you and I'll give you a purpose if you decide to stay.
Oh,
And
okay.
it just kept repeating over and over. I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose. That's a cute little puppy dog back there.
Yeah, yeah. This is lucky here.
She's like, she wanted to be on the show.
Yeah, yeah. He likes to hang
Oh, he
out
wa-
with me sometimes.
but yeah, so I just kind of thought about it. It was like it was going to take about an hour for the cardiologist to get into the hospital,
Hmm.
and so I was laying there just contemplating things, and because I didn't want to just make a hasty answer, I felt like I had an opportunity here, and with him kind of saying I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose, made me really think about it because this would have been the easiest way out. I mean,
Yeah,
it wouldn't have hurt at all. I would have just faded away and gone and not have to deal with this world anymore.
right.
And so, and it wouldn't have been me killing myself. So, it
Right.
was just like,
Yeah,
I
you don't
mean, it
have
was
to do
just like,
anything.
I'm within minutes, I can go. Um,
Right.
but I, uh, I felt like he really wanted me to stay. So I said, okay, God,
Kind of
here it
sounds
is.
that way based on the way you worded that question to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you tell me, I'll be with you, you know,
Right.
and I'll give you a purpose if you stay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's what I did.
Sounds pretty inviting.
Well, like I thought about it. I really put a lot of thought in it. And I said, okay, God, I'll stay if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Um, but here are the things that I want. It wasn't to get rich. It was, I want to be remembered for doing something good. It was like it finally really resonated with me what I wanted my life to be. And I
Hmm.
said, I want to be remembered for doing something good. I want to live every day, not just be alive. And I want to touch as many people as I can the rest of the time I have on this planet. And after I got through with saying that, it felt like I heard in the loudest voice possible, so be it.
Wow.
And Yeah, it shook me. And I tell people, it was like I was laying on this bed. They had me prepped for the cardiologist so that when he got there, he could just go right to work.
Okay.
And but it felt like if I could see into the spirit realm, he would have been dancing around my bed, going, "That's my boy." Like, you made a good decision. I'm going to be with you. I'll prove it, And
Right.
so went through the night. He went up in there. I'm awake for the whole thing. He shows me the on the screen when they run up the dye up in your heart, one side of one artery was 100% blocked, no blood getting to that part of the heart. The other one was 95% blocked. Just
Wow.
a trickle of blood going through there. And I had already had a massive heart attack. So about 40 to 50% of my heart was scar tissue at this point. I'd had a massive heart attack, and he was like, "I don't know if I can fix this." He goes, "I may have to crack you open." And that's what he said. I was like, "Well, if you have to, you'd have to, but
Right.
I'm here." And he goes, "Okay." So ran the stents up in there, and with a few stents and the just properly put, ran the dye back through, and blood returned to my body through to the other
Wow.
part
All
of
right.
my heart. It was kind of like a TV program. You've seen on TV where there's people gathered behind the glass watching
Right.
the surgery or whatever that's going on. And that's
Sure.
what it was like. It was so early in the morning that like the whole staff was all behind there. And whenever the blood returned, they all started cheering. And man, it was so moving. It was just a
Oh
very
yeah.
moving moment in my life. And I knew I would never be the same after that. And so I got out of the hospital. Uh, me and my wife, my girlfriend at the time, we got married, made it
Okay.
official, and I had the same job. I was selling coupons. That's what I was doing at that time. Just one of
Okay.
my many jobs. I was selling coupons in this thing called Money Mailer, which is kind of like a Val Pack. I mean, it's like an envelope that has a bunch of envelopes in it, and you sell it to
Okay.
services and nail salons and all kinds of stuff like that. And that's what I was doing. I was selling coupons, and at the time. And so I get out, I got married, and now I'm in worse shape physically. I have congestive heart failure because of the damage of the heart. They had to put a
Right.
pacemaker defibrillator in me,
Okay.
just for it to squeeze normally. And even with all that, I was still functioning at about a quarter of what a normal heart does.
Wow.
So yeah, they weren't expecting a lot. I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to pan out, but I left there, even though I left weak, still broke, still all the things that was before. I
Yeah.
left there knowing that I had a purpose, and
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole different you.
that's all I needed to know. He's with
Yeah.
me, and I have a purpose. And so I chose to forget any religious teaching that I'd been taught, uh,
Okay.
to stop running those sermons through my head, to stop judging myself, because God felt that I was valuable enough to speak to me and say,
Yeah.
"I'll be with you."
Most people don't get
That
that
epiphany. But
experience. Yeah.
and so I said, "Okay, um, I from now on, I'm following you, Lord." I knew the Bible. I
Yeah.
read the Bible through multiple times from front to back.
Sure.
I understood all those things, or at least I thought I did, based on what I was taught. But
Right.
I said, from here on out, because I don't know all the answers, I'm going to trust that you're going to show me what to do. And so I stayed out of church. I stayed out of listening to other things, and I just focused on knowing Him, having Him teach me, and amazingly enough, he would bring back to remembrance things that I would go check in the Bible and
Huh.
and find. And I was like, okay, that's that's him speaking to me. I'm understanding this. And so
Right.
baby steps, he brought me back to a place where I was like, okay, I feel like I know where I'm at right now. But what happened on that table when I decided to stay was that I truly decided to lay down the old life. And so that's what really made the difference, was that it was no longer about me, because me wanted to not be here. you
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
it was
You
about
really didn't want much to do with that anymore.
I didn't. It was about how can I impact the rest of the world?
Right.
how can you use me to do that? And with no education, no money, I mean, really no money. Um, and again, no kind of business background. 6 months later, I was out selling a coupon to a plumber,
Okay.
and it was a local plumber that everybody knew and liked, and I knew he was trustworthy and all that. And he said, "Well, I wouldn't want to do this all by myself." He goes, "I know a good electrician that I fully trust, and I know a good roofer that I fully trust, and I think that we should share this ad. Like we could buy a coupon with all three of us on it." And my mind went with, that's going to be a little bit confusing to the consumer, I think, to have three different coupons on one. So what if we
Right.
built a website? What if we built a website where you could be the plumber, and it was just for one town. It was a town of Mansfield, Texas. It had,
Okay.
it was going to, that place, it delivered to 20,000 homes in Mansfield. Um, and um, and so I said, what we could do is just get, you already know the electrician, you already know the roofer. We could get another, maybe a dozen of you different types of services, put them on a website, and I kind of knew how to build websites,
Okay.
online. It wasn't any kind of fancy anything. It was just, what you could get
Right.
online, like a Wix and,
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of,
absolutely. A template. Yeah.
and so I was just going to build a thing where I'd send it, and this was all still just to sell a coupon. you know,
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
y'all can all go in together and buy even a larger area, and we'll send it here to this. And I called it at that time I called it, it could be like Mansfield Service Connection or something,
Okay.
and so he was like, man, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Um, and so that got me to, like, the first spark. And then for 2 days I couldn't sleep. I was thinking so much about it. Like, I felt like God was saying, this is what I have for you. I want you to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd never ran my own business. I'd I sold coupons. I sold yellow pages and for a while. So I understood what a directory looked like.
Sure.
And so that's what I decided. I really think I want to try this business. I never started a business before, didn't have any money. So I
Wow.
went in, but, uh, I was working in outside sales doing this coupon thing. And I could have probably, talked to contractors and asked them what they thought about this while I was on the clock, but I just
Right.
didn't feel like that was right. So I
Yeah.
went in and called my boss in the office. I said, "Hey man, I've got an idea that I've got to try, and I am not going to spend 1 minute of your time doing that. So I have to quit." And so I quit my job. We
Okay.
had no money in the bank, no savings account, and one paycheck coming.
Wow.
And now my girlfriend, she worked too.
Okay.
And so
That was a plus.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, wasn't like we were going to lose our house, the
Right.
house that she was living in. It wasn't even my house at that time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess at that time we got married right afterwards. But it was this income was very much needed. I'll just say that we couldn't have paid all of our bills without it. But I
Right.
stepped out in faith, believing that this was part of my purpose that God talked about. And I just went out in the beginning with a yellow legal pad and a pen, and sat down with contractors and told them my dream. Just shared with them the idea of separating the good guys from the bad guys and guaranteeing their work. And
Okay.
and they fell in love with it. They all started helping me build it. It was just like, oh, I know a good guy here. I know a good guy there. And it took me about 2 years of just going out and talking to all these guys to finally get it all together. And they were writing checks to save their spot basically whenever I got it all together.
Wow.
And I was telling them, hey man, this, you might lose your money. It was like the weirdest kind of business you can think of.
Wow.
And but I
Now,
wasn't
how does that differ? Isn't there there's a site called Angie's List? Is
used to
that
be.
kind of like that?
Well, everybody wants to try to, because I have the word list in my name,
Yeah.
and there are contractors there.
Yeah.
People want to compare us to Angie's List. Now, Angie List is now owned by a company that also owns Home Advisor. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but there's
Okay.
Home Advisor and Angie now. Angie used to be just a review site.
Okay.
And she started out really strong. Like she was the kind of like me. Like she went out door to door and was talking to people about,
Yeah.
their experiences and started like this review site called
Right.
Angie's List, right?
Yeah.
And homeowners used to pay to be a part of that, to have
Okay.
access to contractors who they could actually, review and look at.
Got it. I never really knew how it worked. I never participated in it. I just
Yeah,
heard about it, and it
right.
seemed like it's sort of a similar idea.
So it's a review site,
Yeah.
and the BBB really is a review site. That's
Right.
Better Business Bureau is they don't take any responsibility. They don't
Right.
pay anything. They just
Yeah.
give the homeowner the ability to complain.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
that's what the BBB is. So really, there wasn't anything out there that did what I was doing.
Got it.
And
Okay.
so what I was doing was only bringing on good contractors. Like, so I limited the number of people I could sell to.
Okay.
And so this was, I had business people telling me, John, this is the dumbest business plan I've ever heard. You're putting yourself at risk by guaranteeing their work too, like
Right.
a job.
Right. Right.
So,
And
so
they have liability insurance for that, and or some kind of insurance for that.
Well, contractors can have general liability insurance, but it does not protect the homeowner from a bad job.
Got it.
What general liability does is if they end up burning the house down, they've got an insurance policy that can fix that.
Got
But
it.
like if that person didn't like the quality of the work, it's
Yeah.
just their word against the contractors. And that's the
Okay.
way it's always been.
Right.
That's why you can hear so many horror stories. A lot of those horror
Oh, yeah.
stories that you hear about contractors, those were guys who had insurance.
Okay.
You know,
Sure.
and it's really it's always just been a two-way agreement, a homeowner and a contractor. And what I did was say, if I'm going to say that these guys are good, then I'm going to put my money where my mouth is,
Hmm.
and I'm going to guarantee their work. So literally, if someone hires a contractor from the Good Contractors List, it's not just them and the contractor anymore. I have a
Right.
$25,000 guarantee that backs every job that contractor does.
Wow.
So now there's three people involved. And if they have an issue with the contractor, they can contact me, and then I'm taking responsibility for the job if that contractor doesn't fix it.
Got it.
And so
A
we've been in a
regional service, though, right? This is just this is in an area that you're covering more or less, right?
everything. Yeah. So any service that you want here in the Dallas Fort Worth area is where I started.
Got it.
3 or 4 months ago, we decided we were going to go national with it. And
wow.
I mean, yeah, amazingly enough, it's been 14 years now we've been doing this.
Okay. All
We've
right.
backed over $5 billion in work.
Wow.
And we have only come out of pocket $127,000 in 14 years, advertising it on TV, walking,
Wow.
putting that good with a halo symbol that represents good contractors
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there. And I'm telling you, if we didn't do what we said we're going to do,
Yeah.
it would be trashed. I mean,
Oh,
people have the
yeah.
ability to just
They eat you alive.
trash anything.
You'd be gone. Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, we've managed to figure out how the process of separating the good guys from the bad guys.
Yeah. I
We've
was curious about that because I was a painting contractor for years, and I don't know how many guys that I knew that just didn't do what they said, and nightmare after nightmare. I mean, so few good companies. I'm out here in California. I don't know if it's any different than the rest of the country, but I just know these guys don't show up on time. They don't, if they show up at all, they don't do what they say. They change things, gets expensive. I mean, everything that can go wrong generally does. And that's just the normal, You think it's going to cost $5,000, it's probably going to cost you 10 by the time you're done, and you're still not going to be happy with it. Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters, and for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
Yeah, that happens. It's hit or miss, and that's what's so scary. And contractors don't really have any other choice but kind of self-promotion. Let me
All right.
get these certifications. They spend a lot of time, a lot of money in marketing trying to step out if they can. But a lot of the really good guys they stay busy. They don't,
Yeah,
because they're being referred by family.
right.
But they can't grow very much bigger because they just don't have the resources and the
Yeah.
leads to come in, and so
Yeah,
leads
you
is kind
max
of.
out pretty quick. You get all filled up, and what are you going to do? You can only hire so many guys to help you on your job if you're doing the job, And
Yeah,
I ran into that myself.
it's kind of funny though whenever you, like I say, it's self-promotion for most, but
Right,
what I'm trying to do is create a community.
right.
And so if I can create a community where there's painters and roofers and air conditioning guys and everything that you need for your home,
Sure.
all doing the right thing,
Mhm.
all backed by this guarantee, and they're out there talking about, and I call this a movement. I call this is a good contractors movement that's
Okay.
happening right now across the nation, is that as contractors come under this one, gather together and bond together under this one authority, then they can start telling their homeowners, go here to hire your contractors. You
Got
know,
it.
it's not just about, hey, we have a $25,000 guarantee backing us, which by itself is an accolade that should earn them business. So it's,
Sure.
you know, they could use this as just an accolade, but if they work as a collective, I like to think of this as collective authority.
Okay.
The more that the collective, all the contractors are saying the same thing. Hire contractors from the Good Contractors List. We are all vetted and backed by a guarantee. You will never be taken advantage of if you hire from this one place. Then the
Nice.
next thing you know, homeowners are catching wind of it. They're going there for their plumber. They're going there for their roofer. And the roofer's clients become the plumber's clients. And the plumber's
All right.
clients become the window guy's clients, And so anytime they're actually growing their own organic lead system, you know.
Okay.
And so that's the idea, is that, for a $500 setup fee and $250 a month, they will be backed by our guarantee. And this, of course, is if they qualify, they've got to meet all of our qualifications.
Mm.
And they really need to participate as the collective, as part of the collective. They need to
Okay.
be referring back to the Good Contractors List and all that, so that their group in whatever town they're in, it could be anywhere, small town, large town. There's contractors that serve all those areas. And so the more people come together, they become an authority. I call that collective authority marketing, because they're actually doing it all together without having to spend any money. And that's
So
that's the
how
amazing.
far reaching have you gotten? I mean, you went national how long ago?
Just a little over 3 months ago. We're in
Oh, okay.
17 states right now. We have contractors now in 17 states.
Okay.
And these are just the trickles of what's
Right.
about to happen, because what'll happen is, as let's say in Houston, we get a contractor there. We ask that contractor, who do you know and trust in other fields or even in your own field?
Sure.
And they will, they're very particular. It's kind of funny, because when you put that word good out there and say, I'm separating good contractors from the bad ones,
All
they
right.
take possession of it. They're like, all right, well, we're going to make
They
sure
have
that.
to, otherwise you don't have anything of value. I mean, if these guys aren't owning it as their own, then it's somehow your responsibility, and that's a lot of work to. I don't know how you would manage it, but if you got everybody that sees the value in it and they protect their own and you know raise that value up and hold it, I think that's the only way that would really have a chance to grow the way it is. So
Yeah,
that's
here in Dallas Fort Worth, it was easy because, and we charge more here than we would anywhere else in the United States, because there's different levels now.
okay.
We have so many zip codes out here, so many different services. Now we have the ability to sell it to exclusively. But what we do different here in Dallas that if I could go in hindsight, I would have changed. I would have used the model I'm using nationally right now. But in Dallas Fort Worth, we actually advertised on TV and radio. I did what I originally was talking about. They all pooled their money, and I just take the money that they give us, and we advertised here
Okay.
in Dallas and Fort Worth on radio and TV. And that's how it grew quickly here, is because they heard about it and they came to
Right.
us, you know.
Okay.
Um, the downside of that is when you pay more, you expect more. And so
Right. Absolutely.
while I could be spending $80,000 a month on advertising, um, it may not give them enough leads for them to think it's worth $600
Right.
a month,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I get it. Well,
Um,
John, I know that I was not sure how this conversation was going to go. It went fantastic, but we've burned up most of our time, and this is where I kind of want to give you the opportunity to circle your thought around, and if you've got kind of one central thought that you'd like to share with our listeners.
well, I mean, like I said, the Good Contractors List is what I consider a movement. And
Okay.
so it's gonna really take everybody working together to make it work. And ultimately, my goal is I want to touch as many people as I can while I'm on this earth, right? Be remembered for doing something good. So part of the Good Contractors List growing is that I get to be on podcasts like yours and start and
Nice.
tell the story of God's
Sure.
goodness, and that's really my ultimate desire, is to be able to be a beacon of good, to the
Nice.
world. But if you're because it takes everyone, if you're a homeowner listening to this,
Uh-huh.
and you know a contractor that you would hand your keys over to, you trust them so much, like those good guys, they could be the beginning of a safe contractor community right there where you are.
Got
And
it.
so on it's called thegoodcontractorslist.com. On thegoodcontractorslist.com, there's a button that says refer a contractor. It's at the bottom, and I think they're about to add that to the navigation now. But if you go to the bottom of the page, you can see refer a contractor. Click on that, fill out that form, and let us know who that contractor is. And if they end up qualifying and joining, we'll pay you $125 for letting us know about them. And
Nice.
so yeah, we want to benefit everybody that's going to be a part of this. And if we can get that started in your community, then it won't be long before we have all the contractors you need that are going to be good, that we can guarantee with $25,000. And so refer contractors. If you are a contractor by chance listening to this, and you know that you're the guy that has integrity, that does things right, that has a steady knows how to manage your money and run the business right,
Mhm.
go to thegoodcontractorslist.com and go to become a good contractor, and it'll give you our minimal requirements. And then we run we spend $2,800 a month on background check software that is FBI level. So when we do a background check, we know if that person had another company that they ran into the ground and then started another one, so it's
Right.
those
Sure.
kinds of things that you can't see a lot of times.
Hmm.
And so we do that, and that's it. Just help us with this movement. We really want to protect homeowners around the nation, and we want to build community and make this something that's great for everybody. It's hard to know what's real anymore,
That's for sure.
and that's part of what we're doing. Is we want a genuine, safe place for homeowners to go, and a really a safe place for contractors to come to be a part of something great, something much bigger than themselves.
I like it. I like it. Well, John, I want to thank you for joining us today. And as things are growing along, I encourage you to reach back out and come back up and share the developments.
Sure, would love it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, this has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and I want to thank all of our listeners for making this show possible. And we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.